Hey legends, it's time to give you a new old show recommendation. So legends, welcome along to Here's Rodder's Reviews. I am your host, Rodney Stewart. Space 1999, I need to recommend this show to you. I seen bits and pieces of it as a child. This show came out originally, ran for 2 seasons, from 1975 to 1977, for a total of 48 episodes over 2 seasons. Now, according to all reports, season 2 isn't quite as strong as season 1, but I have to tell you, I bought this box set for my brother. Brother was a big fan of it when he was growing up. He's slightly older than I am, and I remember as a kid he had a couple of the toys. There's one of the most iconic science fiction ships is the Eagle from Space 1999, and he had one of these here, a toy, and I think I actually broke it on him, but it was recently his birthday, so I thought, we like getting into the old shows. We're doing Chips and Dukes of Hazzard, all that sort of stuff, and I thought, Space 1999, so ordered it, got it for his birthday, and we literally only about 9 episodes into it at the moment. And basically the idea of Space 1999 is in the year 1999. Of course, this was made back in 75, so 99 was a long way off when this was made. And the idea of the show is the moon has been used as like a dumping ground for nuclear waste. And in the pilot episode, I don't want to get into too much detail of the pilot episode, but the opening intro to this, if you check it out on YouTube, it shows you every intro to the show, shows you what happens. And basically there's a disaster on the moon in the pilot episode, and the nuclear waste dump explodes, and it blows the moon right out of Earth's orbit and sends it hurtling off into space. And the crew that man the space station on the moon are trapped on it. So essentially the series is the moon is travelling through space, and they're hoping to find a habitable planet to land on and start a new life, sort of a thing. So it's science fiction all the way through. Jerry Anderson production. Again, this is the same guy that brought you the like of probably one of the most the most famous things he did was Thunderbirds. Like, everybody knows that. But just like in the UFO review that I did, this is an adult show. This is not made for kids. It is absolutely fantastic. I'm just going to look up the name of one of the shows that we recently watched, and I love a show that has not just good storytelling, but something that's going to leave a lasting memory in there. And there's huge names involved in here. It stars Barbara Bain and what's his name? Martin Landau, Barbara Bain, Nick Tate. Martin Landau, if you know that second name, Landau, Drusilla from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is her father, and Barbara Bain is her mother. So, class. Huge names in here. Peter Cushing turns up for an episode, along with in another episode, and it's actually the one I'm looking for right now, is an episode called Earthbound, and the legend himself turns up in it, Christopher Lee, and he does kind of play the Dracula type character in this episode. Now, this is the one I'm going to try and, I'm actually going to spoil the end of this episode, but this is such a good ending to it. In this episode, of course, the moon travelling through space, and an alien spaceship crash lands on it. Christopher Lee is in there with this group of aliens, and it turns out that they are from a dying planet and they left, were put in suspended animation, and their computer program was set to find Earth's moon and land their ship on it to get prepared and come out of sleep to go to Earth to find a new life, essentially. At the beginning of the episode, it crashes, of course. They don't come out of the freeze, and the crew of the space station on the moon come in. They can't find any life signs of the aliens. They think they're all dead, and of course they start screwing about with the chambers that they're sleeping in, which is basically like a big glass box over the top of like a table, more or less, just enough room for a person to lie on. And in the process of doing that, they set something off and it kills one of the aliens, and then the automatic systems in the ship bring the others to life. And you're thinking the whole time, Christopher Lee, Dracula, this guy's going to be evil. He's going to be taking out revenge for the member, his crew member that these guys have actually killed on him. But that's not the case. It turns out that they're peace-loving race of aliens, and I want to get this guy's name. There's a guy, Commissioner Simmons, that was trapped on the moon with the guys, and he's a politician. He's not one of these guys that's cut out for the whole space exploration thing. He genuinely believes his place is on Earth, and like he's only in a couple of episodes in the series, but he's a complete tool. Every time he goes on screen, he's just a very, very unlikable character. And they figure out what's happening with Christopher Lee and his crew, and they decide, we're going to help you out here, get your ship repaired, send you off to Earth. And it's going to be, at this point in the series, it's going to be a 75-year trip to Earth, so they need to get them put into suspended animation again, send them off on their way towards Earth. But because one of their crew members was killed, they have a spare space on their spaceship, so they offer one person to return to Earth with them. And they start pretty much like drawing lots, computerized lots. They feed the information into their main computer to pick somebody at random to head back to Earth. Now Simmons, being the complete and utter tool that he is, he fully believes that he's the one and only person that should get this place, and he is constantly fighting with the commander, Martin Landau. Landau, he's, you're going to do this fairly. If your name gets picked, you'll get the place. If it doesn't get picked, you'll be here for the rest of us waving them off, sort of a thing. So Simmons goes rogue and steals an important piece of technology out of the main computer for the space station, and basically holds everyone to ransom. It's like, I either get this place or you're all going to die, you're going to freeze to death. He's got them over a barrel, and he's taken Christopher Lee's character hostage as well. So they've got no other option. They tell him, okay, you can go, give us the stuff we need to get this place fixed, we don't want to die, sort of a thing. And he goes off to the ship. But there's a whole backstory in there where they were trying to see if a human could survive the suspended animation, and they almost lost one of their main characters in a test earlier on in the episode. And Christopher Lee, he reassures them that once we get this sorted out, get the computers properly programmed to the individual person that's going to be in there, that's not going to be a problem. But by the end of the episode, Simmons takes these guys at gunpoint back to their ship to get into the suspended animation to leave Moonbase Alpha. He isn't aware that this thing needs to be programmed specifically to him, and he forces Christopher Lee's character and the rest of them to go into their suspended animation first before he gets into his. And it's not really clear as to whether Christopher Lee's character actually made the conscious decision to do what happens to this guy at the end, or it was his own arrogance that got him into the final position he's in at the end of this episode. But he gets into the suspended animation, goes to sleep, the ship takes off, it leaves the moon, and shortly afterwards we cut to Simmons waking up on board the ship inside this glass case on top of the table, and he gets his communicator out and he starts calling for Earth. Bearing in mind, 75 years away from Earth. The rest of these guys are in suspended animation and they're with him, and he starts calling for Earth. This is Commissioner Simmons, I'm home sort of a thing. We'll be there soon and whatnot. And we cut from that over to the control centre on Moonbase Alpha, and you see the whole crew that he had held at ransom to get off the moon are listening to him calling out, and back on board the alien spaceship, it finally dawns on him. He checks the date and time on his communicator and realises he's only been unconscious for a matter of moments, where he thought, the suspended animation thing is like going to sleep and waking up, 75 years, just like that, and realising what's happened, and he's trapped inside this glass box, basically. He starts screaming and beating at the glass, let me out sort of thing, and he's screaming down the communicator to Moonbase Alpha, and everybody's there, and they're like, this ship is out of range, and the moon they're on is travelling as well, so completely out of range. None of their ships are going to be able to reach this thing to intercept it, and they're just resigned to the fact that there's nothing we can do. And over the communicator you can hear this guy screaming his lungs out, and the job he did acting this was absolutely fantastic. And and the worst of it is, he's inside this glass case, he can't get out. The system that can shut the whole thing down is literally within 7 to 8 feet from him. All the other people in there, Christopher Lee included, are unconscious, and they're going to stay unconscious to they reach Earth 75 years later. And and we seen earlier on in the episode, basically, when they accidentally killed this crew member that was originally in this glass case, it went off and basically incinerated the person inside it. So he is trapped in this thing, and the final shot of the episode is you just see this ship slowly going off into space, out into the distance. And on Moonbase Alpha, we find out that the lotto of the computer, that the name that it finally picked was indeed Simmons. So if he had have just bided his time, he would have got to space, got put to sleep properly, and all would have been well. But his own arrogance trapped him inside this glass box on top of a table, basically for the rest of his life. And we don't know how long this is going to last. Is he going to starve to death? Is he going to suffocate to death? He's inside a glass case, but it is a form of life support as well. So chances are this thing was pumping in the oxygen as well to keep a person alive. So brutal, well done episode. Absolutely fantastic. Now that episode alone, that's the sort of thing that sticks with me. It's not so much what happens, it's the implications of what's going to happen after the episode finishes. I absolutely love that in classic sci-fi. Now, in all fairness, this show, by today's standards, is fairly dated looking, but it is fantastic. And there's a few things that I've seen on here so far that I can say with quite a bit of confidence that I think Star Trek lifted from this show at some point. This episode in particular, this crew is 75 years away from their destination. So was the Starship Voyager and Star Trek Voyager. It's just little things they got there. You're just thinking, this is class. This is an old classic science fiction show. Star Trek Voyager comes along in the 90s and picked up this little thing here as part of their core storyline. Absolutely brilliant. Now, would highly recommend it, but as I did say at the start, from all reports, season 2 isn't quite as strong as season 1. Now, I can't say that personally. I haven't got that far through the box set yet, but the handful of episodes I've seen to this point, I have got no doubt in my mind that this show is definitely one well worth a recommendation. So if you get a chance, check it out. But just be warned, it is, by today's storytelling standards and breakneck speeds, this is a slower show. It takes a while to get going, but when it does, you get an episode to get here. So satisfying. Guys, I will talk to you in the next episode.